Great. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the afternoon session here at CyberNext DC. This is my opportunity to introduce a little bit of the Cyber Threat Alliance. But the first thing I want to do, as I set the stage for that, is to talk about sort of what we see and why CTA exists, and sort of what niche we're actually trying to fill. It's not a mystery. We've heard a lot of the panelists already talking about this this morning. But the threat landscape that we face, the strategic context is not a good one, right? The threat is continuing to get worse. You're continuing to see more and more actors start to take advantage of what they can achieve in cyberspace. The strategic trends are not in our favor. And I think there's four reasons for that in particular. One of which we had a panel on this morning, which is the Internet of Things, right? We keep making the problem bigger and more diverse all at the same time. In the physical world, with the exception of, perhaps maybe the Chinese building some islands in the South China Sea, right? There's not more land on a daily basis. There's not more air on a daily basis. But on an hourly basis, there's more cyberspace. We're hooking up somewhere between 5 to 10 million devices per day to the internet. So that means since we've been actually, having this conference this morning, we've hit 1.5 million more devices on the internet. So we're making the problem just bigger almost continuously. But those devices are much more diverse. It's now, you heard about the connected hairbrush this morning, right? Everything from your car to, I can't imagine, again, I'm with the speaker, I can't imagine why you need one, but, they're making them. So we're making the problem that much harder. The problem is also becoming more frequent, right? More and more actors, whether you're talking about nation states, criminal groups, hacktivists, terrorists, they're all discovering that they can pursue their interests through cyberspace effectively. There's a low barrier to entry, and so more and more folks are getting into the game. And so the volume of malicious cyber activity that we're seeing is continuing to increase. These same actors are also willing to move up the scale in terms of destructiveness. If we'd been having this conference, 10 years ago, we would have been talking about website defacement. Like, when was the last time any of you talked about website defacement as like a serious problem to worry about? Now we're talking about, destructive activities like what happened to Sony, like what happened to the power grid in Ukraine. That's a very different place to be. And then lastly, the activities that would have been mildly annoying 20 years ago are now catastrophically disruptive. When I first started working at the Office of Management and Budget in the mid-90s, if the network went down, you almost didn't notice. Like, you just kept doing other things and you just worked on your not connected computer. Now, if the network goes down, in many cases, most of our businesses would cease. And so things that are, we've reached a point where our digital dependence means that disruptive activities have a much greater impact. So I think, when you paint the picture like that, it's pretty clear that what we've been doing isn't sufficient. And we need to be changing our mindset in several key ways. One of which is that we need to change our mindset about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity for too long has been treated as a technical problem that you relegate to some geeks in a closet someplace and hope you never actually have to talk to them. And that's not how we're going to solve this problem. Yes, it is a massive technical problem, but it is also, on top of that, a giant economic problem, a human psychology problem, a business operations problem. And until we are able to treat it in that same holistic manner, we're not going to be able to make progress against our adversaries. Second, we need to be thinking of this in a much more holistic way in terms of our approach to doing cybersecurity. We have known for quite some time that the old castle and moat mentality had failed us long ago if it ever worked, which is arguable about that. But we need to actually be thinking about how do we actually much more systemically disrupt our adversaries from achieving their goals. Move away from the mindset that we have to be right all the time and they only have to be right once, to they have a goal that they're trying to achieve, and we get multiple bites of the apple to stop them from achieving that goal. And if we can start to map out and understand how they're trying to achieve their goals in a much more systemic way, then we can begin to actually disrupt them over a longer period of time. I like to joke that what I really want to do is make the bad guys do a whole boatload of business process reengineering over and over and over again, and impose that kind of cost on them. And then lastly, we also need to change how the industry operates, how the cybersecurity industry operates. And we need to actually be much more collaborative amongst ourselves and with partners and allies in the private sector and with governments. And that's where the Cyber Threat Alliance comes in. The Cyber Threat Alliance is really aimed at enabling the cybersecurity industry to collaborate in some new ways, to share cyber threat intelligence at a speed that anybody would actually care about, at a volume that anybody would actually care about, and to do it in a way that brings together the companies that can actually really make a difference in the defense of the ecosystem overall. Right now we have, as of today, I can say that we have 14 members because we just added 2 today. We have our charter members, our founding members of Checkpoint, Cisco, Fortinet, McAfee, Palo Alto Networks, and Symantec. We've also have our members from Insights, Rapid7, RSA, Reversing Labs, SK InfoSec, and Telefonica's 11 Paths. And then as of today, we have added Saint Security, a South Korean firm. We have some representatives, Hee-Soon Park and Hee-Hong Kim from Saint are here today with us, and also Sophos from the UK. And we've got about another 4 or 5 in the pipeline that you'll be hearing about over the next couple of months that I'm very excited about. So we're growing and adapting the CTA to the threats that we face. And I think that we can become a real value add to the industry overall. And that's really what CTA is about, making a difference in the ecosystem as a whole, both enabling companies to better protect their clients and customers, but also to make that difference to the digital ecosystem as a whole so that we can continue to derive the benefits from the connected world that we've come to expect. So now it's my pleasure to actually introduce one of the folks that was actually very instrumental in getting CTA started, that has played a big role in driving it forward. Mark McLaughlin, the CEO of Palo Alto Networks. I could run through his incredibly impressive bio, but that's in the program, so you can all read that. What I would just say is Mark has been a great partner and friend over the years. When I was in the White House, when he was chair of the National Security Telecommunications Advisory Committee, and the other work that we've been able to do together. It's great. Mark's on the board of CTA, and so I get to work with him again in this capacity. And it's a real pleasure, Mark, and I enjoy that. So thank you.